Hello, everyone. Bridging Arabic calligraphy and typography through Japanese logomarks. What is calligraphy? Calligraphy, by a simple definition, is a beautiful handwriting. But what is handwriting? Handwriting is a movement between two stops, or a stop between two movements. If we look at this, you could see there is one stop marked with the ink, and then a movement, and then a stop. Or a movement between two stops. If you see between the movements and the stop, there is a change of direction. So there is a movement between two stops. And these movements, these micro decisions, make a handwriting different from another. As you could see here, so these are the marks and the directions. So movement, stop, change of direction. And these movements can be linear, it can be straight, or it can be curved. These are, by the way, letters that people sent to my dad. You could see here, it's basically movements between stops. And it doesn't matter which language you're writing. This is a letter in French. So handwriting is pretty much like a pendulum. It goes in one direction, it stops, direction 0, and then goes into another direction, with the only exception that a pendulum is very rhythmic, and the handwriting is not. So if we look here at this letter, you would see that there is a movement, a stop, a change of direction, a stop, another change of direction. And this is my handwriting. I guess I will go to jail. I don't know for how long. So this is, the movement, the stop, and this is in Japanese. You could see the stops marked by the ink. And it defines the handwriting of every person. These micro decisions that every time we're doing without thinking. But handwriting can be distinctive, but it's very important that it communicates through readability. So there is a certain duality between the commonness and the uniqueness of handwriting. There is the commonness of writing and the uniqueness of style, which bring me to the handwriting. Common and unique, it communicates. So handwriting, it's on one axis, on the one hand, convention and instinct, and on the other hand, 5 fingers. No, I'm just checking if everyone is listening. On the other hand is experiments and results. So you have the convention of writing, the rules, and the intuition, what we write without thinking on one axis, and the other one, the experimentation and the readability. On the one side of the convention and readability, there is the common part. On the other one, there is the unique. And on a minor note, there is the innovation and the usability. And it's up to us to decide which part do we want. Do we want the usability to be like a letter? Do you want to write a kind of test? Do you want it to be unique? Or do you want to be innovative? So it's up to us to decide where we write. And if we think about this, we could see that typography for reading is on the common part between convention, rules, and readability, and the typography for viewing, which I'll talk about, on the lower part, and there is somehow the calligraphy between experimentation and rules and conventions, and the intuition and experimentation with the handwriting. So typography for reading and typography for viewing, what's the difference? If I want to simplify it, one is like water, another one is like juice. I don't think any one of you wants to drink a tasty water. And I don't think anyone would enjoy a tasteless juice. What is a tasty water? Tasty water, it's tasty when it's tasteless. It's like the text when it's written in books. You don't want to be disrupted. You want the text to be as invisible as possible. On the other hand, the viewing typography is like you want it to shout. You see it in places like packaging, in supermarkets, in any place. These are pictures that my students took in supermarket. And it's basically, you know, like the cohabitation between one script and another, namely the Latin and everything else. And this cohabitation of script is becoming so ubiquitous. And years ago, I was looking at my books and I had an idea, why not starting with something unconventional? So I took some of my books and of Japanese typography, and then I sent them to students and I told them, get inspired. So they took Japanese logos, they deconstructed them, they used these parts, and they started forming Arabic and Latin words. Maybe I'll spare you the translation here, just listen to it. حكيون على جروب الصف اللي مبلش الكور. So that's the Japanese logo. That's another one. شكي بليز الكهرباء وراكي please. So, and the inspiration, the Japanese. And if you just see each script, although inspired by Japanese, it looks like Arabic and it looks like Latin. This is the same logo and two different students inspired with the same logo. And it goes in one direction, of course, with the left to right, and comes back with the right to left, which is pretty similar to the Boustrophedon. I'll just read you don't need to translate. أنا العاشق الشيء الحط لا أستطيع الذهاب إليك ولا أستطيع الرجوع إلي تمرد قلبي علي. That's the Japanese. And you can also use it in bilingual work. And these posters, في كاميون غرقان بتونيل طريق المطار, as just showing how we speak in Lebanon, mixing languages. فتحت تلفزيون بسرعة. That's Japanese inspiration and adaptation in Arabic, and the bilingual, biscriptural adaptation. So it's pretty much using the same material to prepare different dishes. It's like the same material for different architectures, which is pretty much similar to the concept of Lego. So we started naming this project Lego, giving the students Japanese logos, deconstruct them, construct Arabic letters, Latin letters, bilingualism, biscriptualism, and they should see at the negative space, at the relation between the ascenders, descenders, the parts of the letters, and try to be as loyal as possible to them. And some students, you know, like Armenian, they wrote Armenian letters. And also, this is one logo who inspired someone in French and Arabic, Celia Matta. It also inspired another person in Devanagari from IIT Bombay in Mumbai. And these are more examples, Japanese and Devanagari. And more examples, I think we're still in the Devanagari. This should be Malayalam here, Japanese and Malayalam. For those who are not familiar with India, there are different scripts. Tamil. Fast forward, Zaid University. So my Japanese book, we are much more now, but the technique is the same, getting inspired from Japanese logo, but to show bilingualism in the UAE. بسوي drop, خلاص I'm done, بشرب coffee. This is the inspiration, Japanese letters and the adaptation to Arabic, and Abba Matcha, literally بصيح, يعني ببكي, I cry. Why عندنا assignment? And then this is how they deconstruct it, construct it, and then get inspired. سوي لي coffee, professor يستوي, أحتاج بريك طويل, أنا كمان. And this is the Japanese inspiration, how الحد يكلم لي I'm stressed, and the wide submission. So you could see that the adaptation respects the level of the Japanese works. If I want to put this as a diagram and then remove the parts that I don't need, I will go to the experiment and the intuition and the handwriting. So this is my handwriting, and the intuition is to think, you know, what truths do I know, and how would I go into something that is very personal? So looking for my own personality in my work. And these are letters from my dad. How would you see, like, where do you start, where the person starts writing? And you could see, you know, like every letter tells a story. Here, when I'm taking pictures, I could see all the ascenders overlapping, creating axes, x's, sorry, and giving originality to every word. So more zoom ins. Every letter is different from another. He has hundreds of letters. You could see that they are all very different, yet we can decipher them. So there is a commonality between the writings. And then I will move to letters from the same person. Each person looks for a certain system in his way. And these are letters from my late dad. If you look at this work, and zoom in a little bit, what I saw is a fingerprint. So these inks, actually, when I zoomed in on them, they look pretty much like fingerprints. So for me, you know, like a handwriting is one form of fingerprint. The writer becomes his writing. So if I substitute intuition with convention, I move from handwriting to calligraphy. 2007, Heisei Junana. I was a student in Japan, and one calligrapher marked me, Honda Koichi, mostly known as Fuad Honda in the Arab world. It was a time where we wanted to do research. My friend sent me the newspaper by post. I had to photocopy in black and white because we couldn't have access to photocopies colors. It was a time where when we take notes, we read them and we value them. And some of the writings here that marked me was one word. You could see here, I could only photocopy A4. So, traditionalist. So I realized that in calligraphy, there are two ways of seeing things. I saw in Koichi Honda calligraphy as a destination. So it's either, you know, he's teaching his students from handwriting to calligraphy, or from level 1 to level 1+ or better. So the calligraphy itself is a destination. He gave me this valuable work in 2006. But then at the same time, I met another calligrapher, Samir Sayer from Lebanon. And he told me, as a designer, you should think of calligraphy as a doorway, as a springboard. So calligraphy here became a transit. So if we're going here, we're moving from typography level through calligraphy to the final destination, to new typo. So where do I stand? I had their two works in my home. Fast forward, 2015, I started teaching with my friend. She's here, Rana Abu Jaili. And we wanted to think, like, what's next? It might be good to use our Arabic heritage. So we asked them to take some calligraphies. We gave the students Japanese logos from the same books, and then told them, create your own letters. You're already familiar with this. And then asked them to interpret this like a calligraphic style. So you see here the Japanese logo, the created letters, and the final composition. And so the main part was not copying. As you can see, the spacing is very different. These are two interpretations from two different students. It was following the rhythm, the relation between black and white, and of course, the micro decisions of changing directions. Here's the calligraphy to typography. You could see the Japanese logo passing by calligraphy to something that looks like a typography composition. More works. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You could see the stretching of the ascenders was not very common, not common at all actually in typography. Ahsan al-Hasan al-Khulq al-Hasan. And the transformation from calligraphy to typography. If you could see how each student interpret his own, in his own way, the letters in a mode that looks like them. And this is the scene, two versions of the same scene. And then little by little, we started having more works. And this is where we decided that we should do something with them. We should go to the public. And Muradifat Basariya, or visual synonym, was born. We were around 70 works. We exhibited in the French culture in Beirut, and then in the north of Lebanon, in Tripoli, and south of Lebanon, in Saida, and also in Mumbai. But the big event for us was when we were selected by the Korea Foundation, and they gave us the Korea Foundation Gallery to present. And among the 22 ambassadors who were there, the Lebanese ambassador told me, "What's wrong with you, Tony? I mean, Antoine, why you're putting the captions so low?" And this is what I told him. I want everyone to bow out of respect to the work of my students. So everyone reading the caption was bowing, respecting the Arabic calligraphy. Thank you. Thank you. Next month, I was chairing Typo Day in Amman. Samir Sayigh was the keynote. It was a beautiful event. We published the book, Rana and I, the works until then. But the most rewarding thing is the authentic smile of Samir Sayigh, just telling them, telling us that, yeah, you did it right. It was a big move forward until we saw this cute thing that no one wants to see anymore. It was fortunate for me because I had free time in more than a decade. So I started trying what I teach my students. Allahu thiqati wa raja'i. So I started doing calligraphy, my style. I'm not good with nastaliq, I'm not good with taliq, with riq'a, I'm not good in anything. But this is something I love to do. كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام, in 2 versions. Modular typography and symmetry. So yeah, just more works inspired, like trying to adapt the Arabic heritage of calligraphy to my own. هذا من فضل ربي. It's barely readable, but it's intentional. لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ولا يحيق المكر السيء إلا بأهله. Oh yes, this is where my city exploded and they kicked me out of my country. Select all, delete, force quit, escape, restart. I came to what I call home now, to the UAE. I started from scratch, talking. I had the opportunities. I went to Serbia, to Sarajevo, sorry. And the works there, visual synonyms, they saw them as Muslims. So it was more like the content of the prayers. But when I went to the AUC in Qahira, the Egyptians, funny that they are, they looked at them as interesting parts, you know. They looked at them as weird combinations of Arabic, and they interacted differently. But the Chinese, for them, there was only shapes. So it was different ways of interpreting the same works. And then I will share with you now a few works from Zayed University. We try to make it as academic as possible. وَعَدِّ لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ. So just getting inspired from Arabic calligraphy, like the loop here, the tail of the ha and ain, how it's adapted to typography and how it's the final, something that's very uncommon with the normal typography. And you see here the final shape of the ghain, which is uncommon in typography. The stretching of the kashida, also uncommon. The interplay of ascenders, especially between line space. More works, the grid formed by the kashida and the ascenders, symmetry, modularity, isometry. So just to tell you, you think it's easy, but actually it's a long process. So this is the picture they take from a book. They do not trace it, they reconstruct it. And by reconstruct, I mean they think like a designer. So this is maybe her interpretation of how the design it was meant. They create their own letters. They pass to Arabic calligraphy, get inspired, and then start trying. So they start trying with the compositions until they get to, it's pretty much like adjusting teeth with the braces, little by little, to get something that is more satisfying. And this is one adaptation, and another student with a different adaptation, Sarah. So with Sarah, كل من عليها فان, she starts like that, and then move a little bit, again, like the braces, little by little, into something that's more or less satisfying. That's a process, another process of another work, also from another student. Students, started creating letters that look like them. As with me, none is familiar with calligraphy. In 3 years of graphic design, 2 courses, no one could compete with calligraphers. So we do it our own way. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Symmetry, again, you see here the modularity of the circles, and كل من عليها فان. And this is, the process starts from very messy letters, little by little, into an award-winning piece of art, of course, on the student's level. Sharing is caring. Scaring. So we wanted to share, we wanted to have feedback. Zoom, when we can Zoom, this type of day by Zoom, and also live in AUC again, in Cairo, teaching in Saudi Arabia and Miss Arc Week. So there is a lot of improvements to see, and although we call ourselves teachers, we live in a long life of learning. This is in Sikka, so it's a big scale, meeting important people, having validations, very massive work, and then on a micro scale, showing the same work in the university, rewarding students, and students rewarding us with their smiles. And these are like, each year we can work on showing more pictures. This is Sikka last year. As you can see here, students start feeling better with calligraphy. So this is one iteration, another iteration. And I was looking at it, and okay, Ya Rahim al-Ibad, Ya Rahim al-Ibad, Ya Rahim al-Ibad. And then all of a sudden, I'm reading ضيعت تفون. So my student just wrote about my village. But the nice part is like, she doesn't need calligraphy anymore. She got to a point where she feels 3 minutes are fine. This is another student, creating her own letters from a Japanese logo. And here you see that we can recognize, we cannot read. When I tell you Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, you can guess it, but it's not really completely readable. So October marks my 20th year of teaching, and every time I ask students, they tell me, I think. And there is something very unique in the UAE. When I ask my students, they tell me, أحس, which is very beautiful. I feel. So they don't think, they feel. So they sometimes I think, or I hiss, I don't know, like it's in between the mixture, which is really beautiful. And these convention and intuition, experimenting and readability, they become closer between, conventions, between feeling and thinking, and it's a lot of experience. What happens then? Guess what? Yeah, we get the surprise, the king of surprise. See what's inside of them, what's inside of this beautiful student. Now, let me ask you, who do you think is more beautiful, this cockroach or myself? You can answer. Of course. Not if you think, not if you ask his mother. His mother feels that he's the most beautiful creature in the world. So what you think and what you feel is somehow debatable. This last slides. During my years in Japan, there was my judo instructor, Komata Sensei. I told him, how do we eat tofu? He said, Tony, when you hold tofu, you should put enough pressure to hold it and not too much pressure to squeeze it. And this became my philosophy in design and teaching. So enough pressure, but not too much. Sayonarakum. 1 minute.
شكرا لك دكتور.
شكرا لكم.
حابب تشاركني في الختام؟ ابغاك توقف عدالي، بالعكس متوسم فيك الخير.
تسلم.
شكرا لك دكتور على هذا الطرح. نفتح مجال. تمام. دكتور ممكن تجاوب على الاسئله بما عندنا بقيه الوقت؟
اكيد.
شكرا. توترت انا يعني اقول شو السالفه. يلا زين دكتور تفضل عندك المايك.
اوكي. بس لكم انه صديقتي كمان زميلتي رنا برجيلي فيها كمان تجاوب على الاسئله بعدين. اوكي. حدا عنده سؤال؟ You want me to speak English, Arabic, Japanese, Nihongo? Yes. وعليكم السلام.
زي العادات والتقاليد مثلا العربية، سواء في الإمارات، في الكويت، في السعودية، في مصر، نطلع على العادات والتقاليد الأخرى، ولكن ما نخليها يعني تأثر علينا على عاداتنا وتقاليدنا، نحتفظ بيها وهم يحتفظوا بعاداتهم وتقاليدهم. هذا سؤالي بس يا دكتور.
أنا بحترم رأيك أكيد، بس رح أرد عليك السؤال بالسؤال.
تفضل.
افترض حالك أنت مكسيكي ما بتفهم عربي، بفرجوك كوفي وبفرجوك ديواني، هل أنت ممكن تعرف إنه الكوفي بيشبه الديواني؟
لا.
وإذا ضلينا نحن عم نفكر بس بكوفي الكوفة من أيام الكوفي، كيف كنا وصلنا للنص تعليق ولا التعليق ولا الرقعة ولا الديواني؟ يعني التطور نحن دائما بنحب إنه نكون قاعدين مطرحنا، بس جسمنا بيتغير كل الوقت، كل سنتين بيتغير كل جسمنا.
صح.
وهالحروف هول ملكنا، هول الهيريتج تبعنا، فينا نحطهم بالمتحف ونحترمهم وفينا نستعملهم كل يوم.
ولكن دكتور كل انواع الخطوط دي تندرج تحت الخط العربي.
نعم.
انواع الخط العربي، الثلث، الديواني، الكوفي، النسخ، النسخ تعليق، كلها تندرج تحت مسمى او تحت الخط العربي.
بس انه اذا بتتخيل حالك
انا بس يعني
نعم تفضل.
انا بس هي تعليقي او ملاحظتي على الخطوط المختلفه.
اكيد.
نعم. غير خطوط الخط العربي.
بس بدك تتخيل انه مطرح وقت كان في كوفي وغيروا لغير يعني فور ديفرنت سكريبت، اجى كمان حدا انتقدهم قال لهم هيدا مش عربي، هيدا مش كوفي، انتم عم تغيروا فيه، بس رجعنا تقبلناه، التطور متقبل، بس اكيد بحترم رايك.
هي ملاحظه خاصه يعني مش عامه يا دكتور.
تسلم.
بارك الله فيك.
اوكي.
تفضل.
وعليكم السلام.
أشكرك على الأطروحات الجميلة اللي سويتها، جدا عجبتني. بس أودي أخذ لمحة تاريخية بالمقارنة من حطيتها مع خط الثلث. خط الثلث أنت حطيت الانتقالات البداية اللي صارت، بس كان في من القطب المحرر أظن كان في هناك تحريف للقلم، عطانا جزء ثاني. اللي بيعرف الفرق بين الخط اليابس والخط اللين في صفحة حق ناصر خليلي يعرض فيها يمكن من القرن الأول الهجري اللي بداية الخط اللين، هي ورقة لتحرير أحد العبيد. فراح نلاحظ إذا شفنا هذه الورقة مثل ما راح نلاحظك إنزين بداية لشيء جديد. بس البداية لما يعني عرضت شغلة إنزين إن هي سالفة الانتقالات، بس نسينا الأداة. تمام. لذلك أنا بخاطر إنك تفكر كذلك بالأداة المستخدمة. إحنا عندنا صار اكتشاف جبار جدا في قضية تحريف القلم. حاليا لو ندرس خط النص تعليق، تمام، راح يفرق مع أي واحد ما يعرف يكتب خط النص تعليق إنه يغير درجة زاوية القلم حق 45 درجة، راح يشوف إن الشكل راح يصير أقرب حق روح النص التعليق. كذلك باقي الخطوط. فالمقصد إذا كنا نسولف عن تصميم إنزين، وهذا أكيد شيء جميل، راح نلاحظ هم شغلة ثانية معاها، الاستخدام. لما حطيت معاها خط الثلث وآيات قرآنية راح يكون لها جو استخدام معين. أغلب الأطروحات حاليا بالتايبوغرافي قاعد تصير حق الدعاية والأشياء التجارية. كذلك هذا هم المفروض إنه يعني على قولتهم يناسب الشيء اللي راح تطرحه فيه. أنا أشكرك جدا، بس أتمنى تفكر زيادة بالأداة، وأتمنى إن شاء الله تكون هي يعني خطوة أولى حق إن التايبوغرافي ياخذ نفس المسار. الانتقالات اللي صارت بين قطوة المحرر، بعدين ابن مقلة، بعدين ابن بواب، ياقوت، هي كانت عبارة عن اختيارات لحروف وتثبيتها. هذه شيء مبدئي، فأتمنى إن شاء الله تكون حروفك هي يعني إن شاء الله بداية حق نوع من أنواع الخطوط الجديدة. شكرا.
أنا بس بدي أقول لك شغلة كتير مهمة، إنه نحن عم نعمل هالشغل احتراما للخط العربي، لأنه أنا برفض إنه يكون في نحن عم نكتب بخط عربي أقل قيمة. يعني ما فينا نحن نوصل ب 2 كورسز بالجامعة عم ناخذ خط عربي نقدر نعمل خط عربي يليق بالخط العربي الأصيل، ولكن نحن مع تطور التول اللي هو الكمبيوتر هو وسيله. نحن بدل ما نستعمل وسيله القلم اللي ما حدا بيعرف يستعملها منا كتلاميذ ديزاين مش كخطاطين، عم نستعمل التول اللي نحن بنعرف نعمله. بس طريقه نقطه الانطلاق هو احتراما للخط العربي لما نعمل شيء بشع.
جميل. دكتور ناخذ اخر مداخله اذا تسمح. سامحنا تعبناك ولكن اخر مداخله.
مساء الخير دكتور أنطوان.
نعم.
أنا اسمي محمد حسن، يعني باحث في الخط وليا كذا إصدار والماجستير والدكتوراه في الخط وفي الكتابات. يعني المفترض يعني حتى احنا لما بنناقش رسالة علمية أو بيبقى فيه طرح أكاديمي، الأصل في الشيء إن احنا بنحاول نضبط إيقاع العرض، الفكرة، الميثودولوجي وما إلى ذلك. اسمح لي دكتور أنطوان، أنا مختلف شكلا ومضمونا وموضوعا. اللي شفته أنا يعني تعبني. أنا آسف إن بقول الكلام ده، بس في أنساق لعملية التطوير تحديدا في الخط الثلث مختلفة شكلا وموضوعا. عندي الدكتور أحمد مصطفى في لندن وعمل أشكال أكثر حداثية. لو أنا هفلسف الموضوع أبتدي أتحدث عنه، التحويل أو الشكل التطويري أو إعادة تأويل التقليد زي ما حضرتك اخترت المصطلح. احنا حولنا خط لين إلى نوع من أنواع الخط الكوفي، والنسب نفسها في بناء الخط الكوفي ولا هو مربع ولا هو مضفر ولا هو كذا. طيب البنية الجمالية فين؟ طيب احنا برضو بنؤكد وبنقول يعني we respect Arabic calligraphy. فين القيم الجمالية المعتادة؟ يعني اسمح لي اقول حاجة زي كده. فانا مختلف مع الشكل ومختلف مع المضمون، مع كامل احترامي للتقديم برزنتيشن بشكلا رائع، موضوعا مختلف معاه. شكرا لحضرتك يا دكتور.
تسلم، اكيد لك حق تختلف. بدي اقول لك شغله، انه انا كتبت بيبر 14 صفحه، بتمنى عليك تقريها وتشوف المضمون، انه ما بحب اجي انا واقرا البيبر مثل ما هي، بحب يكون يفهموا المضمون اكثر. بتمنى عليك انه تقريها وتبعت لي ايميل وساعتها فينا نناقش. وشكرا على مداخلتك. تسلم.